Get on in here. Get on in here. Let me tell y'all. Oh, she running. Okay. So, welcome back to my channel, guys. I just wanted to touch on some things that have just been. First, this is the accent of me. So, if you're new here, what we're going to be doing is in the language learning space, I think that there has been a lot of times where I felt that I may have been losing my accent. And when I say accent, I mean it can be personality, it can be who you are, it can be your overall being. But what I learned was I wanted to start talking about things, which, as you guys see behind me, my experience, I'm going to start breaking down. I think I said in the last video that I'm going to start breaking down the different situations, whether you're black in Mexico, black in Spain, um, and how these things have changed us in a different way, right? So today I wanted to talk about something that is very, very controversial. I have seen many situations, and I wanted to give you guys like a feeling of how I felt when I first moved to Mexico. And for whatever reason, I don't know why I felt like this, but I looked at Mexico as always first very chill, very chill. I will say this: I didn't think of like uh, people in Mexico being very stylish or caring that much. So oftentimes for me, I never felt the need to do the most. Let's just say that I never felt the need to do the most. But there was something lingering when I would walk around. And for a moment, I was like, is it anti blackness? Is it, was it racism that I was dealing with? I'm like, is this what's happening here? But I used to walk around like only just chill, no regular t shirt. I didn't care. It wasn't anything that I felt that needed to be expanded upon. Until one day, I remember saying, for the last couple of years, I've lived on the beach. I lived in Barcelona, Spain. And living in Barcelona, Spain, there wasn't like a need to really dress up. Nobody really cared to dress up. Nobody really, I remember my first time there, I went to a club and everybody was wearing dirty tennis shoes. And I was like, why are you guys wearing dirty tennis shoes in the club? Like, this is when you're supposed to look your best. And I remember them saying, you're going to learn your lesson. And of course, I learned my lesson. I had bought some brand new shoes that night, and they looked a mess when I left. So when I got here, I was like, don't be so obvious. And that's what I kept telling myself. Don't be so obvious. Don't be so obvious. Don't go into these spaces as maybe somebody of privilege and look like it. You can look like it sometimes, but don't just pop your stuff all the time. I wanted to say pop your shit, but you know what I mean. So, fast forward to me going through some things like body wise, the altitude, things like that, finding my footing and finding how I wanted to present myself in public. And then it completely changed. I start dressing like I normally dress, wearing what I normally wear, like as if I was in the States or when I lived in London. And then the level of respect went from like move to, oh, look at you. And I say that because I dealt with that in Spain as well. And there wasn't, I do think racism exists in Spain, but I think that there was a level of how you presented yourself to the world, how they saw you. If they saw you as beautiful, which doesn't mean anything, but if they saw you as beautiful and put together and things like that, the society itself was more accepting. And then that's when I said, okay, being in Mexico, I'm going to present myself much better. I'm not going to be as relaxed. And I promise you, things changed. Things changed, and it it trickled down, and that's why I titled this live. how to deal with whitexicans because it came from the top of whitexicans first. And when you got there, because there was an assimilation, not always, but there was an assimilation that they assimilated closer to whiteness and wealth and togetherness, and most spoke English and things like that. And I remember like kind of like stop being afraid. And I remember saying, if you're gonna walk into a room and everybody's gonna stare anyway, now you have an audience. Give them what they came for. You know, and that's what I started stepping into, and then the respect became a little different. When I think about the whitexican situation, because I actually have a nutritionist that was whitexican, and to see the not death threats, but more of the hateful things that are being said about them, I come to you all asking you, what's the reason? Is it because their families look down on more of the indigenous people? Is it because their families, not all the time, because I think that's a myth to say that most people in Mexico don't have money. They do. I wish people would stop saying that. I think the population is poor in a general sense, but when you talk about the ownership, when they actually, you have people that actually earn money. I see BMWs around here, Teslas around here all the time, and I don't think that there is a large enough conversation about them having the a more free for all when it comes to financial literacy, when it comes to financial independence. They don't have the thing. I think the most that they may have, some people may, if they have a fancy car, they have to pay for that. But most of them are downright, they have their things, they probably have less debt than the average American. That's in my opinion. I think that they have less debt. But when you think about the whitezican thing, getting back on topic, I do find it that there are fresas, as they call them, the people that we call fancy, bougie, as you may say. I do see that it's more prevalent in certain areas, in the Palancos, the Condesas, the Roma Nortes, where there are people, and I get it that there is also a group of people, because I know some that absolutely don't want to assimilate themselves with anything close to being like fancy or bougie, where I may go to Soho House and I have friends that will never step a foot in Soho House, but then you see the white chickens, they're in Soho House. And when I think I said in a video a couple videos ago that there is a certain situation where um, dealing with certain levels of colonialism, you can tell, because you can tell that when I pop my shit, and that's the word I'm going to use for you guys, when I pop my shit, it's a little bit different. Let's just be honest. It's a little bit different when I'm like, okay, let me show you what I can put on. Let me show you how I can really put this together. I think that the level of respect in these communities are a little bit higher. And I mean that in a serious way. When there is a sense of, when I do see the whitezican thing when it comes to the indigenous versus the whitezican. I do see it. I don't understand it, if I'm being honest. I come to you very, very, being very honest about this. I do not understand why you would want to assimilate to a group of people that don't really look at you the same. It's the same thing that's happening in the United States when it comes to Latinos that view themselves as white, when in actuality, white Americans, white people, let's just think, because all of us are Americans, but when white America doesn't view you the same. So I think that that's a larger conversation amongst Latinos that they need to have on the assimilation of whiteness, on why is it that you want to be that. And someone said something that I watched earlier, Funky Daniva, and said that it makes people feel like maybe you guys are going to vote against yourself again. And I don't understand that either. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had amongst you all. I wish we can understand it. And I know this is the huge topic right now because of what's happening in the States with immigration and ICE and things like that. Again, ICE, what you guys are doing is horrible. What Trump is doing is horrible. But I would love to understand the infatuation with being white, because I think from what I've seen, I do think that you guys do have a beautiful culture. You do have a beautiful, just the culture itself is a very beautiful culture. But I do get a little confused on what's the fascination with being white. And I get it. It's a skin color thing, but I'm saying instead of saying I'm Latina or I'm Latino, what's the fascination with wanting to assimilate that and then looking down on your own people? Um, I think that's why I don't understand the white skin type of thing. It's more like fresa, like, oh, you're very fresh, you're very fancy, your family probably has money. And I think that's what people are viewing it as, is like, because when I see it, I could probably get more respect for non-white Mexicans than I can for just like normal indigenous Mexicanos. I like, and if I do, it's more of a respect thing about what we're wearing or how we're presenting ourselves and things like that. But I would want to know the ins and outs. I would want to know the history of, is it just that their parents wanted to put, because I have seen this and I want my Latinos to answer this question for me. Why is it that some of people, the indigenous people, don't like their nose, or they're changing their features? And I'm not saying in my community we have people that do it too, but I would think something that's largely Latino. I would think that that's more. I can't think of the word. I'm off topic, but I can't think of the word what they call darker people, Mexican people. I can't think. It's not Moreno because I'm Moreno. But what would they call? I forget the word that they call. Let me see if I can find it. What do they call darker? Okay, it's not Moreno. Preto. Preto perfectly refers to skin tone, while preto can be more informal term that range of meaning. Sometimes you can use the dark-skinned individuals. Additionally, Afro-Mexicanos, blacks, Mexicans use terms to describe African descent Mexicans. Okay, it's something else though. I know it's Moreno. I'm Moreno, but it's something different. But I definitely want to understand that. I want to understand that, but I want to. What I want to show people is that, because I think the misconception is what's happening in the states is how all Latinos feel. And I know people that are proud to be Mexican, proud to be in Mexico, love being in Mexico. Would they want to work for American company like the States? Sure. Just to earn more money. But I would definitely say, I don't think I've met people that dislike Mexico that are Mexican that confuse me. And I'm like, how do you dislike, where you're from? And I've seen that, but I've never understood it, if that makes sense. So I wanted to come to you guys just to say, drop in the comments, tell me what is the history between the white Mexican, normal Mexican thing. Um, I had to make this live really quick because I'm busy for the rest of the day, but it's going to be a playback. So yeah, please let me know what's the history so I can understand it, so that I can get a better understanding when I'm trying to explain it to people. Because I see some of the comments, but I can't say that I understand the divide between the indigenous and the white chicken. I don't understand it. I just have been able to see the differences. I've been able to see the difference between where white chickens live versus where more indigenous Mexicans live, and I can see that they assimilate. They can assimilate whiteness much better than a regular Mexican can. So I can see the discrepancies. But I want you guys to tell me about your culture and somebody break it down to me so that I can understand it. Okay. So I'm gonna get out of here because I need to go to the gym and see you guys very soon. Nos vemos pronto.